Hello, listeners. Welcome to the audio edition of Cam White's 32-part series, Reading the Offseason Tea Leaves. I'm Mike Vadala here with Cam White in episode 8, where we'll be digging into the Carolina Panthers. Welcome to Reading the Offseason Tea Leaves. Today, we'll perform discography on the Carolina Panthers free agency moves, incoming rookies, coaching changes, and fantasy fortunes. Cam, how are you doing today?
I am great. I saw that Darren Waller just got signed by the Carolina Panthers in the past couple of days, and it's like, man, this guy just won't go away. So, Mike, what happened with Darren Waller? What's this contract that he's on?
So Waller did sign a one-year deal, I think for $2 million. And then if he attains a 700-yard receiving season, he can earn another $750,000. So just kind of like a one-year prove-it deal. It seems like they're intending to use him. Those incentives might indicate that. But on top of that, I think that also they just haven't really had a tight end that they felt great about the past few years. We've seen Ja'Tavion Sanders have like a couple of good games, but also have some questionable play. They've tried out Mitchell Evans as well. I think they maybe were feeling a little bit shallow in tight end depth. And I think that Darren Waller is actually a really nice add for them, given that he is still in like decent shape. You made the call on a fantasy team that we co-managed last year. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, where he kind of blew up for a few games for the Dolphins when he first initially came back from retirement. So Darren Waller, you're right. He won't go away. Not my favorite rap artist, but definitely a tight end that I've always liked. Yeah. So anything else you want to touch on? I see we have some other incentives. Do you want to let the people know what his other incentives are?
Yeah. So, if he hits any of these incentives, each one he'll earn an additional $750,000. So you already called out receiving yards. He's got to hit 700 receiving yards this year. For receptions, he's got to hit 55. Touchdowns, he's got to hit 6. And then if he plays 60% of the snaps, he'll also earn $750,000. So like all of these seem pretty attainable because when you think about it, Chris Brazell went down with a season-ending injury, their rookie wide receiver that they drafted. So it's really just like Jalen Coker and Tet McMillan there as far as like the receiving weapons. I think that there's a chance he hits these, but like really it's like, can he stay healthy? We know he had the hip issues last year. He did retire for a bit, took time away from football to get his body right, and then came back and, picked up another injury that took him out. So I think a lot of this deal is loaded for him to be a tight end one, like contract wise, if he can hit all these incentives, but like health is going to be the main thing we worry about.
Absolutely. Altogether, it's about $3 million in incentives that he can earn this year, which is definitely like sizable money. So we'll see what he can do. I think it will definitely be very telling like week 3. It might take him a little bit that he's just joining the team to kind of like learn the system and get fully integrated into the offense. If you see him out there week 1 and he's looking good, even if he doesn't play a full snap share, that might be a nice little buy window for Waller. Obviously, this is contenders only, but also if you kind of have a dead asset on the back of your roster and you are a rebuilder, you can add Waller as like a trade asset as well. He's been good in the past. He's produced in the past, even post-retirement. So I could see him being good this year as well. That all that incentive money will that'll help out along with the royalties that he gets from his rap career. Also, Jalen Coker was extended to a 3-year, $35 million deal. This is decent wide receiver 3 money here. Obviously, we've already seen Chris Brazell go down for the year. Leggett has not been what they were hoping he would be after being drafted in the first round. So Coker might project to be the wide receiver 2 in this offense. Not a wide receiver 2 fantasy-wise, but definitely a guy who could get some spike weeks. He also has the escalators in his contract where he could earn up to $1 million if he exceeds 850 receiving yards. That's not necessarily an incentive where I'm like, we think he's going to do that, but it's nice for him. He can go out there and shoot for that. That's something where if he gets to like, 800 and we're going into like week 16 and you're in the playoffs and we know he needs that contract, that's also a good thing for like the kind of Vegas, like gambling and stuff, where if you're doing that kind of stuff, you want to know what these incentives are. That's where that can really be a nice edge for you. Altogether, we like Jalen Coker as a player, kind of one of our guys that we've always wanted to impress, and now he's kind of gotten that chance after I think he was a UDFA. So anything else you want to touch on? I've done all the talking on Jalen Coker. I think I can do, Cam.
Yeah, I think you hit all the main points. He came out of Holy Cross out of college, and man, was it tough finding any film on this guy. But there was constant hype for him in camp, and then when he finally got his opportunity on the field, he looked great. So I think that Coker probably does have a chance to hit that 850-yard target in his contract. Um, I like him. There's really not a lot of weapons for Bryce to throw to. There's like three main guys as far as I see it. So Coker probably a solid flex play when you need him mid-season. I think that there's probably going to be an opportunity to sell high on Coker at some point if he has a strong start to the year. Just the Coke heads are just addicted to Coker. They just want him on their rosters. So if you can find a Coke head to offload him to, I fully support that.
For that is what we call the fans of Jalen Coker, just so that all the YouTube overlords know that.
Yeah, we're definitely not getting paid out for this video, but that's okay. We had to slip that in there. Come on, it's
That's
fantasy
okay.
football.
Maybe Waller will share some royalties with us.
Sorry, Nate.
So okay, so this is kind of the hot topic for the Panthers this year. It's Jonathon Brooks. So we saw Rico Dowdle leaving free agency for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That might be a sign. And honestly, we've seen a lot of indicators that Jonathon Brooks, the team believes he is fully healthy and ready to kind of have his breakout season, or you might call it a comeback year this year. He's looked good in all of the camp film. He got some touches in the preseason game. So how do we feel on Jonathon Brooks? Now we're seeing him get steamed up. We did a mock draft today, Cam, where we saw Jonathon Brooks drafted. Where did he go? Like the seventh or the
Seventh
fifth round or something? Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
the start of
seventh
the
round,
seventh round, I think.
insane to me. And that was like a redraft mock draft too. So
Even
insane to
crazier.
me to take him that high. Uh, Definitely a guy that we liked coming in. What do we do with Jonathon Brooks, Cam?
Hey, I think you're holding him unless someone offers you a first round pick for him because you want to see what happens, and you likely invested a first round pick in him too, unless you're able to pry him off of someone's roster for a third. But like, if I'm a manager and I spend a first round pick on a running back, I kind of want to see that out. I want to make sure he's healthy. It's like the Javonte Williams situation. Yeah, maybe you could have bought him for like a late second or a third, but like, do you really want to sell after you've seen him be like a talented player? We saw him be great in college, and then he just suffered an injury. He's a really smart runner. I like the upside of him. Now, it's probably like a 50-50 split, maybe something gross like, a 55-45 split between him and Hubbard, but you're not selling him for anything less than a first right now. Maybe there's another player that you can pry away from someone that you really like. Instead of going for like draft capital, you can just like do a 1-for-1 trade. And I could get on board with that if there's someone you really enjoy out there. Maybe if you can do like Jonathon Brooks in a third for MHJ or something like that, like I would fully sign up for that. I know people are really high on Brooks. I've got a lot of offers in my inbox for him. They're all low balls right now. So just hold on to him, see what happens in the season. I think he could still be like a top 24 running back. And this offense looks like it's going to be getting better. They're investing heavily in the offense every year in the draft. So I'm excited. Let's kind of see what happens, though, before we get too far in front of our skis and start gassing him up into like the seventh round of redraft. In Dynasty, if he's going in the seventh round of your Dynasty startup leagues, like just a little too high for me right now.
Yeah, I think that at this point you've missed the train on Brooks. Like if you were wanted to get on Brooks, the time was to do it when he was still down with the injury, before we had seen clips of him looking healthy and looking good, and heard the coach speak that Brooks is going to be better this year, or is going to be a part of the game plan this year. You got to do it before that. So like now, this is actually kind of a good segue into our incoming rookies. So Chris Brazel, he's going to be out for the season. We know that he had season-ending surgery. So this is kind of an IR stash guy. Now, he wasn't the prospect that Jonathon Brooks was coming in. Obviously, also Brazel plays wide receiver. But he was a high-end talent. And now that he's going to be kind of devalued, this could be your buy window for Chris Brazel. Can you talk to me about some of the strengths of Brazel's game?
Yeah, so Brazel is a really twitchy 6'4" boundary wide receiver. I think he was going to probably play that X role for the Panthers this year and let Tet kind of move around more of that like flanker Z role. But with his injury, like I said, you're going to get a buy window for this guy where you can potentially, send out like a third or a couple of thirds and stick him on your IR and just kind of see what happens in the future. He's coming out of a Tennessee Volunteers offense that is pretty gimmicky. They spread the field. It really inflates guys' stats. They don't have to run the full route tree because they're just getting guys in space. But I thought that this is one of those wide receivers that can like really break off his routes quickly. He's electric with the ball in his hands. He's a little wiry for me right now, but I do think he puts on some weight. He'll have the whole offseason the whole season to just lift and get bigger in his upper body. So I really like him. I think he's got high-end speed. There were some people that were gassing up into like a back-end first-round pick before the draft, and I just didn't see that. I felt more comfortable with him in like the late second, early third in your rookie drafts. But now I think he's a value play. It's a guy that you can throw on your IR, and he doesn't take up any roster space for this whole next year. So anytime I can do that, I want my IR filled. I mean, Mike and I, we have a Dynasty 101 show where we're helping beginners. And that's one of the takeaways is like, you want to maximize everything you can do on your roster. So putting Brazel on your IR, going out and acquiring him, and then just kind of waiting to see what happens. Like, this is a great stash.
Absolutely. Nothing better than an IR stash that you feel good about. Like one that I didn't feel so great about was like having Eric All on my IR. Like that's a low end IR stash. Chris Brazel's like a high end IR stash where he was a coveted player. So when he comes back, we are expecting the Panthers to give him a chance there. We are going to go on to you know what? We do have one more rookie to talk about. The Panthers drafted offensive tackle Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. That should help protect Bryce Young. We love to see teams building out that offensive line for their young quarterbacks. Obviously, you're not starting Monroe Freeling in any fantasy leagues that I'm aware of. Okay, we are going to be right back, but after that, we are going to have the coaching changes for the Panthers, which, spoiler, there are not many that I'm aware of. I don't think any. Anyways, we'll be right back after a word from the people at Optimus Fantasy. One of the best things you can do to get better at fantasy football is to just do as many mock drafts as you possibly can. I see it every year in my home leagues. The people that aren't doing mock drafts, they get in there and they really let the emotion and the pressure of the moment kind of get to them. And that's because they haven't been sniped on their guy yet. And when you do 100 mock drafts, you've been sniped every which way, and you've had to make that decision of, if I can't get this player, who's my plan B? Who's my plan C even? And when you're mock drafting constantly, you kind of get to this equilibrium state where you can flow with the draft. Whichever way the draft is going, you're going to see which player you know how you feel about all of these players. You're not just targeting, I want this one player in this round, and if he's gone, then I panic. So mock draft as much as you possibly can. That's my best advice. And we are back with reading the off-season tea leaves. This is the audio version of Cam's 32-part series that he did, diving into all of the NFL teams, what their coaching changes are, their free agency moves, incoming rookies, and what we think of their fantasy outcomes for this year and for Dynasty. So go check out his articles over on the Optimus website. There are 32 of them, but if you can't read, here we are to read it all to you and then some, because you also get some takes from me. I did not help with these articles, but I'm so happy to talk through them here with Cam. Let's get into it. So in Carolina, Dave Canales will remain the head coach, but he has handed over play calling duties to Brad Idzik. Idzik plans to make this offense more pass heavy with more Shanahan-esque wrinkles, expect more passes to the running backs, and Darren Waller may wind up as the team's big slot. So we love to hear the term Shanahan-esque. We know that that is a coaching tree that we are after when we're looking for fantasy producers. Also, I think it's just there's something to be said for the head coach not doing the play calling and being able to be more focused on like more broad things that a head coach can kind of address, and leaving those play calling duties in game to another person whose sole role is to do that. So yeah, we like to see these changes. I think this is overall a positive change in the coaching environment for Carolina, Cam.
Yeah, I think like we're talking about continuity in a team. This is going to be year 4 of Dave Canales. So you want people that are on a team for a long period of time. You can install a bunch of different wrinkles into your offense. And now with Idzik taking over the play calling, we're going to see a pass heavier offense, like Mike said. I still really like the upside of Jonathon Brooks and Chuba Hubbard in this offense, but let's get on over to the fantasy fortunes, buddy. Let's talk about, why are we bullish on some of these players?
Absolutely. So first, we'll start off with quarterback Bryce Young. We really like him for dynasty, former number 1 overall pick, and just he's shown those highs. I would love to see more consistency out of Bryce Young, but overall, we look at him as a QB2. And this is 4th year in the same offense, like you said, that continuity. So he should be taking steps forward here. He's got a nice pass catching core to throw to. They've added to the offensive line. I feel pretty safe with Bryce Young, but there is a little bit of risk here. If he can't perform, he's coming up on that second contract. So I think it's going to be interesting if he does not perform this year. That's where you have the risk where he could lose the job.
Yeah, and that's something that could happen. I feel like the fantasy community was out on Bryce Young after he got benched in favor of Andy Dalton. We have to remember it takes time to develop as a QB in the league. We've seen multiple guys be forgotten about assets, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, and now like Mac Jones, teams are knocking on San Fran's door trying to trade for him. Daniel Jones signed a huge contract with the Colts. Like it just takes time. So I think that it's only a good thing that Bryce Young had the time to develop here, that they've been very patient with him. He's in year 4 in the system. I do wish they had more pass catchers for him, but I love that he's throwing to Tet. I like Jalen Coker a lot. And then, let's see how long Darren Waller can stay healthy. I think they at least have 4. Like, these are large humans, Mike. I think they're all I think Coker's the smallest at 6'2". So we like big wide receiver rooms. And for a guy like Bryce Young, he can throw into tight windows. He throws with anticipation. He is mobile, so he will have some games where he gets you 20 to 40 rushing yards. I like him as a QB2. I don't know if he ever really, develops into a QB1, but in super flex leagues, you should feel pretty confident with Bryce Young as your QB2 or QB3 on your roster. And if he does have a good year this year, there's no reason he can't with all of these guys taking a step forward and this game becoming more Shanahan-esque.
Yeah, I could see him having kind of like a Dak Prescott type of ceiling if he can continue to develop. Now he doesn't have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, so
Right.
not necessarily like that's where he's going to get to in terms of fantasy points, but I can see him having that kind of a career arc. Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver 1, top prospect coming out of his wide receiving class here, and just a target hog as soon as he came into the league. Great zone beater, not necessarily the same in terms of man coverage, but can get open and can win those contested catches. I think that when we're big dynasty heads, we get so into well, actually, I think Luther Burden was the better in that draft class. And I think this is just me kind of wearing my heart on my sleeve here, but it's just because I thought Burden was better, I way too far discount Tetairoa McMillan. So just something to look out for. Just be aware of yourself. Try to be self-aware in terms of when are you just double counting something way too far. I think that's where I got to with McMillan. He's a very fine player, and he's clearly the lead target on this team. Should be a very fine fantasy asset for years to come. So definitely a guy that if you're like me and you've got him a little too far down your boards, don't be afraid to push him up. He's going to be a fantastic player. Jalen Coker, wide receiver 3 upside, going to have those spike weeks. He can beat the defense deep. He can make some tough catches. He can beat man coverage really well. So good dynamic there with Tetairoa McMillan, who can do a lot of the zone beating stuff. I like Coker there. He should slot in easily as the wide receiver 2 for this offense, but maybe not necessarily like, I think you said it well. He's a sell high this year. If he starts to spike, decent sell high option there. Brooks and Hubbard, I like both of these guys actually in fantasy for redraft and for dynasty. I think they're going to end up just kind of splitting. And in a Dave Canales offense, I think you can get flex weeks out of both these guys with the ceiling on the contingent upside if one of them does get hurt. Anything you want to mention on the wide receiving room or the running back room here before we move on to tight end?
You talked a little bit about undervaluing Tet McMillan because you and I both like Luther Burden more. And this is one of those things that I spoke about at the Fantasy Football Expo back at the end of July is we get really caught up in like getting the best value where we just need to be like getting the points in our lineup. And just because Luther Burden was, an early second round rookie pick last year, you shouldn't be fading Tet McMillan just because there's a better value on the board. You should just be getting the guys that like score fantasy points. So that's my only one call out there on Tet. For Chuba Hubbard, so he's under contract until 2028. So we're probably going to look at a split for another few years here. There is, potential outs. The dead cap doesn't get as bad in the future. I think like if we're looking at like 2027, the dead cap is like a $3 million hit. 28, it's like a $1.5 million hit. But you really just want depth at running back. And Hubbard was a good prospect coming out until he got hurt. And then it took him some time to recover. And then he did have a huge year, not last year, but the year before as the starting running back for the Panthers. So yeah, I like both of these guys at value right now. I think we might end up getting a discount on Hubbard, which like pretty excited about being able to get a discount on a running back that we could at least use in our flex. So that's really all I have to say about the wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah, and when Hubbard did get that extension, that was like a statement signing, like an identity thing for this team of like, we like this guy, he runs hard, he's a violent runner. Like it was like a flag plant on Hubbard. So I don't think he's going to just like fall out of the picture anytime soon. But Brooks definitely still has great upside if he is to get injured or anything like that. Moving on to tight end here. So I think that Darren Waller kind of slots in immediately as the tight end 1 after he signed just recently. We have not really seen much excitement out of Jatavion Sanders or Mitchell Evans. What do you think there? Any other tight ends there worth stashing, or is it kind of just Waller or bust?
Yeah, I think it's Waller or bust. They're probably going to re-roll after this year on a tight end in future draft class where like Jatavion Sanders just, he's a great athlete, but we're just not seeing it translate as like a route runner on the field. And I think that Waller has like the tight end 1 weekly upside, but it's only going to last as long as he's healthy, and we just can't really count on that. So if you're a tight end needy team, maybe go out and acquire him. I know that he just signed this deal, so he might be available on your waiver wire. And if he's sitting on someone's roster, like they're probably happy to move off of him for like a 3rd or 4th round rookie pick. And if you need tight end, it's worth the gamble because if he does stay healthy, he has the potential to sneak into the top 12.
Absolutely. And this is kind of a shame. We have barely mentioned Xavier Legette. I think I did mention him once, but Xavier Legette looks like a bust to us, but I think with Brazil going down, he's got a little bit of a window of hope there to kind of rejuvenate his career. He's good after the catch player, but not necessarily, he's making some mistakes in his route running and causing some penalties and whatnot. And then also has some of those concentration drops. So that's kind of my take on Legette. Do you think he's worth a stash?
No, I just think he's a roster clogger.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair, and I think that's something we want to call out here when somebody is just kind of taking up room on your roster. Not much ceiling there. I could see that for Legette. Like he's just really like his absolute ceiling is like he makes it into your flex during a bye week. So I think that's fair to say. in your deep leagues, worth a roster spot, but in your average dynasty league, I think you can find more exciting players, especially with this big injection of incoming rookies that we're getting here. I'd rather have a guy that there's that allure of the unknown. We've seen Leggett on the field before, so that's kind of where we stand on Leggett and on this Carolina Panthers team as a whole. It is time to wrap up the show and get on to our side bet here. Now I'm looking at our show sheet and I'm seeing that we've got nothing at stake. So we're going to come up with this on the cuff, but we do have a bet to get to here. So in week 16, the Panthers are going to host their former RB Rico Dowdle and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So who's going to have more rush yards that week in week 16? Who's going to have more rush yards? Rico Dowdle for the Steelers or the top rusher on Carolina? So I'm going to take Carolina in this bet. You're going to take Rico Dowdle. Cam, any ideas of what we can put at stake here?
I have so many ideas, but it's got to be something that you want to sign up for. You know me, I like to get a little wacky with our bets. I think one of the ones we had on the show sheet at one point, I can't remember if we ended up going through, but was eat a cupcake in one bite. So like, I don't know, buddy, what do you got for me?
I'm game for anything. Put me on the spot, brother. I'm down for whatever.
I think it needs to be run a mile in less than 8.5 minutes.
Bro, that's going to take me forever, but I will try. I've got my time down under 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll try. I'll do it.
It's going to be the middle of winter for you, so you can just get on a treadmill and put that thing at the 8:30. You know, you can like set the speed so that you're at 8:30.
Well, then I'll be in a full body cast on the next podcast after that. But hey, I will do my best. I have been running. I'm getting ready for our bachelor weekend here where we're going to be climbing out in the mountains. So trying to get into the best shape I can here for you. So hopefully I'll be able to easily run that 8:30 mile. If not, I'm going to post my very best try. I'm not trying to injure myself here. We're not that young anymore, but I will do my very best for the people out there listening to this. Thank you so much. That wraps up our Carolina Panthers episode. Cam, any last words for the people listening to Reading the Tea Leaves?
Go follow Mike on Blue Sky. He is a fantastic follow. You can just check him over there. Mike on Keys on Blue Sky. Follow me, White Heat FF. I'm going to be posting all of the training camp highlights. I'm going to be posting highlights mid-season. I do some film reviews after every week of football. So like usually Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, by the time I've been able to cut up all the film and take a look at what happened in the previous week, I usually field a few guys from the crowd on Blue Sky. Let me know who you want me to do a film deep dive on and let you know what I'm seeing. So give us some follows on Blue Sky. Like and subscribe to these YouTube videos. We are going to be pumping out a ton of content for you. Like Mike said, we're doing 32 of these team off-season reviews. So like, that's just like, you know, we're spending a lot of time on these for you guys. Give us some love. Hit us up in the comments. Say something nice. Say something mean. YouTube doesn't know the difference. They just like that you're commenting and interacting with us. So go follow us, like us, comment on us. And, you know, if you can find a cokehead in your league, make sure you offload Jalen Coker after he's had a big game.
That'll do it. For Cameron White, I am Mike Vadala. This has been Reading the Offseason Tea Leaves. And we will see you next time on episode 9 where we're talking about the New Orleans Saints.